With me today is the 2024 Mazda CX-5 Suna, a special addition to the omnipresent compact crossover that is the CX-5. This basic design, this shape, has been with us since 2017, and its last big update was in 2022, where we got a little bit of a different face, different taillights, some upgrades to the interior. And it has been a few years since I last tried out the Mazda CX-5, and what I really want to know is this product a bit long in the tooth, or does it still have some bite to it? Well, let's hit the road and find out. So the 2022 revisions, bringing along that new face and a 10.25-inch touchscreen to the cabin, were amongst the big talking points for that model year update. And for 2024, there's been a couple of other revisions, one being that all trims of the CX-5 have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto now. Mazda claims that they've softened the front springs whilst stiffening the rear springs in hopes for engaging more driving enthusiasm. Regarding the touchscreen, it's still set up in the way that Mazda has done things previously, where it's a touchscreen only when you're at a stop and you have to resort to the rotary wheel to do all of the other functions when you're on the move. I personally don't mind that, but I do think there's others out there that wish if you had a touchscreen at some point, you want it all the time. I can understand that frustration. The screen, though, is bright and sharp during the day, but really dims down during nighttime driving, so you're not having your eyeballs seared in the middle of the night. Not as critical of a feature, but something I want to know is the new available paint, this zircon sand, which is available on lots of other Mazda models, and I really like it for, especially now, where we're kind of in that awkward cusp of winter, where it's warm during the days, but cold during the night. So our roads are filthy, and you would constantly have to take your car into the car wash if you really wanted your car to look pristine. But the outside of this car right now, which you might be able to tell from this, is filthy. But with this exterior paint, it's a great way to hide the filth of these Canadian roads. And with the Suna Edition, it comes with this exterior paint, and then for the interior we get the exclusive terracotta, leather and suede combination. Looks very classy. The interior layout is very much no nonsense. I already spoke about the touchscreen. Everything is really solid. Seats are on the firmer side, but they do give in after a few minutes of driving. Adding on to cruising, it has been a few years since I reviewed a CX-5. The last one I tested was a 2021 model, and I couldn't find any evidence of this, but I'm confident this is quieter overall than when I last tested out a 2.5 turbo. At highway speeds, it's brilliant. Here now, there's a little bit of gruff from the engine, not that bad. I like that I can hear the turbo spool up and wastegate out, that's great. And there's been a real improvement, I think, to this Bose sound system. Before in Mazdas, I was never impressed by their Bose system. It was always average at best. This is a significant step up of what I remember. Mazda still does that interesting thing of offering two different power figures for regular fuel or premium fuel. So in its standard configuration, it makes 227 horsepower with 310 pound-feet of torque, or if you put the special juice in it, it'll be 256 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque. That is a little bit of an upgrade over years previous, and this powertrain I still think really does pack a punch. You have it mated still to the 6-speed transmission, which most of the time is in the background, you don't really think about it. You got the paddles behind the steering wheel, but I never really use those because, quite frankly, even though this is an engaging powertrain, I wouldn't go so far to say that the transmission is the thing I'm most excited about. I'm most excited about doing the regular speed limit here, and I just have to bash down, and it does pick up speed with an authority that you would expect out of the equivalent premium German compact crossovers, X3, Audi Q5, that kind of a thing. It isn't the absolute best driving SUV out there, but for me, given how it is still quite a step above any of its rivals in this price category, it's the kind of product that if you were living with a hot hatch all of your life and you now need a compact crossover for whatever reason, it doesn't feel that dissimilar. And that is a good thing for me being a driving enthusiast, maybe to you as well. Maybe you like your cars to feel engaging, but it's not soft and forgiving in the way that so many other vehicles in this class is. Immediately I think of Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V. Those are soft, those are gentle, those are just appliances to get the job done, whereas Mazda is still very intentionally designing a product that they want the drive to be involving, and that's most noticeable in the suspension. It's not punishing, but in comparison to those previously mentioned rivals, it would feel stiff and non-compliant. But for someone that wants to get a little saucy every time he's on an on-ramp, or every time that I see a little bit of a jagged bit of road and want to, miss the potholes, it's engaging and it's responsive, and the steering's heavy. I feel like I have to muscle my way through some of the corners. So if you want your vehicle to have enough engagement that you have to consciously put effort into it, the CX-5 is undoubtedly the compact SUV for you. And it is encouraging that this is Mazda's top seller. It does sell well, certainly not to the numbers of a RAV4 or CR-V, but there's enough people out there in the world that want this characteristic driving experience, and I think that's very encouraging for car lovers such as myself. But again, I would like to make it clear that if you have to constantly drive on unpaved roads, or you've got just some really shocking maintenance to your city streets, the Mazda, in comparison to all of its contemporaries, I think will feel uncomfortable at first glance. And for me, being a tall guy, I'm 6'4", I looked at these front seats and thought the seat base would be too short and I would get tired on a hours-long highway ride. But what I've noticed is that I can really flat foot my feet, and there's a lot of space in this footwell, like behind the pedals and so on, that I can stretch out in all manner of ways and never feel like it's too cramped or the seating position just can't get into my right position. There's enough flexibility here behind the wheel that long distance drives, even though it has a firmer setup, is not at all difficult. The continual criticism towards the CX-5 is that it is one of the smaller vehicles in its class, so rear seating is tighter in comparison to many others. There's not as much boot space, but I really do appreciate that you do have a space saver spare wheel in this product. You have 3 splitting seats, and yes, at 6'4", I will graze my knees getting in and sitting behind myself, but the seats recline a little bit. There's a good amount of headroom. Even though I'm amongst the 99th percentile of human height, it's not in any way suffering back there. So to answer the question at the beginning of this video, is this Mazda long in the tooth, or does it have some bite to it? I think it really can sink its teeth into you if you are of the right mindset. If you want the largest compact crossover or the most efficient one, you're probably going to end up with the hybrids that Honda, Toyota or Ford offer, and I think that is maybe a letdown of the CX-5, is that there isn't a hybrid or plug-in hybrid option, and unlikely there will be one for this structure. But if you're someone that actually cares about driving and you don't need to stuff the back seats with people and things all the time, the CX-5 still stands out. After all of these years on sale, it's not replicated in any way amongst its rivals, and because of that, if you're looking at a compact crossover, I would still very much highly recommend the Mazda CX-5. For those competitors, I do like them, and I would recommend them too. And I think the more logical approach for most people is to go with one of those nameplates. But I'll say, don't let logic get in the way of you making a good decision. This Mazda CX-5 still stands out. It feels a class above in many ways. And even though, yes, it's been on sale for quite some time, it still feels fresh. So there you have it. That's my short review here of the Mazda CX-5 Suna. Thank you very much for taking the time to watching this video, and I hope to see you again on the channel soon. More videos on the way.